I want to get this right. Mm-hmm. We sat on a mat and had a chat and made maps, hashtag magic carpet. I run and Chef and Raw and turned into a giant octopusy.
I think you're making it sound like a rap song. I should commission a rap piece.
Yes, you should. The magic carpet.
I know.
Fantastic.
So this is one of the outputs from the project. The project is a 1.5 year, 18 months project, and there are many outputs, and this is just one of it. And this is, as you can see, it's a carpet, it's a tapestry. Today it is standing, and it's standing on what I would call an invisible loom. It's a commissioned acrylic stand, and it's fashioned to be like a loom where you weave tapestries in the past, but it's contemporarized because it's in acrylic, so it's plastic. But in other circumstances, we can actually take it down, put it on the floor, and it becomes a carpet. And essentially what that is that it opens up a space, a physical space, a visual space, a creative and a fun space for people like myself and the psychiatrist that I'm working with, Professor Philip Acheson, to sit down together and have a chat about our mind, about our brains, about what the difference, what the lines are, what the boundaries are between normality and abnormality. So kind of tricky topics that might be difficult to talk about in other circumstances. But for me as an artist, I use art. Art is my process of inquiry, my process of interrogation, process of disruption, but also process of conversation. So when we put it down on the floor, you can sit on it.
That's your inspiration, because it's very almost Aladdin, Grayson Perry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Grayson Perry. I was inspired by Grayson Perry because, as you know, he would enter situations, new situations, and he would ask questions, he would observe, he would also participate, but he would use art to then reflect on some of what he's thinking. And I was very much inspired by that. And obviously, he's one of those artists. Other artists are Laura Provost and other A-lister artists. They have taken an interest in the traditional art form of the tapestry. So I was inspired by that, and I thought, I want to make a tapestry too. But I was also inspired by mind wandering, which is the topic of this work. And mind wandering is where your mind just wanders, where you're distracted, where you're thinking of something else. Like I'm talking to you, but my mind might be thinking about breakfast tomorrow morning, but I'm not, don't worry. So I'm interested in mind wandering because it is related to something called ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And so I've been in the arts industry for 20 odd years, and we know in the arts that wandering of the mind and of the body is a great thing. We talk about the surrealists in the 1920s. They were allowing the dreamscape, the dream world, to take over. They were allowing the minds to just go everywhere because reality was so tough and so difficult. So they were saying, let's go somewhere else. Let's go to an alternative, which is in the brain. And also in the 1960s, you had the French artists, the French situationists. They would just wander around, roam around Paris. And just saying, okay, let's be like children. Let's just find out what can happen. So wandering is not a bad thing in the art world. It's a good thing even. It's creative. However, in psychiatry, then there are questions. Someone like Professor Philip Acheson is asking, is it maybe, it's great, but maybe sometimes there will be a point where it's too much. It's too much where it's impairing. It hurts you in that you can't do what you need to do. And that's when it's related to something called ADHD. So I was told I had ADHD. Like I've been in this world for a long time. And just 2 years ago, I was told, actually my brain is a disordered one. And for me as a woman, as an artist, and as a researcher, I just thought, I can't just take that lying down. I have to do something about it. So I approached Philip, I knocked on his door, and I say, I want to have a chat with you about my brain. But I don't want to just chat with people because I find words tricky, and words can be overrated. So I said, I want to use art to have a chat with you. Can I do that? And he has been just amazingly open, really great sport, and he was like, okay, come in. So I've been based at the Social, Genetic and Developmental Psychiatry Center for the past year. I attend courses. I just sit in pretending to be a scientist, just learning about how scientists think about the brain and the mind. And I've also been taking part in research in the research groups. So I've been very much taken as one of, that's what the Artists in Residency program has allowed me to do. I've been able to just spend time, quality time, slowly, to just learn about that world. At the same time, they're also learning about me as an artist. So it's been a really interesting conversation.